POTS is not a heart condition. Someone call their cardiologist and tell them the bad news.
Hi besties, I wanted to stitch this and add to this topic actually, because I have some thoughts. So yes, POTS is not a heart condition. It causes tachycardia, which does affect your heart, but it's not a heart condition. I was diagnosed with POTS by a cardiologist, and I have had my POTS completely treated by a cardiologist. And I want to tell y'all why, and why that worked for me. I personally feel that if you have access and are able to, you should see a cardiologist and a neurologist. Neurologist is technically who you're supposed to see for POTS because it's a nervous system condition. But with the impact that POTS has on your heart, it can exacerbate things and cause other issues. And so you should have a cardiologist regularly monitoring your heart, especially if you do end up on beta blockers and those work for you. Because you do need to have your heart constantly looked at on beta blockers. The reason that I went full cardiology route is because I was able to see a cardiologist that regularly works with POTS. And so he actually heavily understands the neurological and nervous system component of POTS. So yes, I am on a beta blocker. I take Nebivolol. We love her. She gave me my life back. But he understands that there's a lot to the nervous system regulation that needs to happen to also help my dysautonomia. But he did my tilt table. We did an echo to rule out any, abnormalities in that sense. We did multiple Holters. I did a stress test. Because he also needed to make sure that my heart was healthy otherwise. But another thing that I wanted to talk about on here, that I was going to make as its own video, but it goes with this, is, a lot of cardiologists will tell you that because your heart's healthy right now, it'll stay healthy, and so they won't treat your POTS. That is not true. Mine told me right out that, yes, my heart is healthy right now. We caught things at a good time. Because if I were to constantly have tachycardia hitting the 150s to 180s all the time, every single day for the next 20 years, I could develop heart failure. Or at the very least, it will thicken the walls of my heart and cause issues. Because no heart is meant to be pumping that hard all the time. That is why athletes can have a healthy heart, but athletes can also crash. Because if they over-exercise their heart all the freaking time for years and years and years, they may have a heart condition later. Having tachycardia is your body's acting like an athlete in the sense of it's treating everything like exercise. Which is also why my resting heart rate is an athlete's resting heart rate. It's low. Because it made my heart healthy in that sense right now. But it won't be, which is why it needs to be caught ahead of time. And if you're able to be on a medication that regulates your heart rate, you should try. Or at least make, life changes that will help with that, increasing your electrolytes and your sodium and water and avoiding carbs and blah, blah, blah. Like the stereotypical things that we get told. A lot of doctors will tell you that stuff and not even give you the option of medication, which is bullshit. And that's what my first cardiologist did. But so I had everything genuinely managed for my POTS through this cardiologist for the past 2 years. The reason we added neurology in now is because I am suspected to have Chiari or MS right now. And so we're trying to get me a head and neck MRI. But my neurologist, we might be switching me. I have so much to tell y'all about that. But we might be switching me neurologist. But the guy that I saw, he knows what POTS is. He told me any lifestyle change is going to be way better than medication. And I was like, really? Because everything you just told me to do is what I did for 3 years and it didn't work until I went on beta blockers. And now the things work together. And he was like, oh, well, keep taking that. And I was like, yeah. So in my experience, my neurologist was actually incredibly dismissive and just blamed it all on my anxiety and sent me to a psychiatrist. So, and that's with me diagnosed already, and with me have already done a tilt table, a stress test, and everything else, and having a cardiologist say I literally have POTS. And I've had 2 cardiologists say I have POTS. And a primary doctor say it. So, that's my thing. So cardiologist, you can get lucky and find a good one. I think technically, yes, a neurologist is probably better if you can also find a good one. It just depends. It really depends. But my personal opinion is you should see both. if you're able to. I understand, copays and specialists and getting a hold of them and whatever. I get that. But it was easier for me to go cardiology route because cardiologists around here are way more accessible. And the most debilitating symptom of my POTS was my tachycardia. My tachycardia was causing, I would say 75% of my symptoms. Once I got on a beta blocker, I'm rarely symptomatic. However, they are now starting to think that my POTS is caused by MCAS, which is mast cell activation syndrome, where my histamine response is super out of whack. I'm allergic to literally everything. So my biggest asset to my POTS, actually, besides my cardiologist, is seeing an allergist and getting my histamine reactions under control. Because now that I take 2 Zyrtec a day, off-label, and then I'm also on Montelukast, and I'm also starting a new inhaler because I also have asthma on top of it. Doing all of that actually helped regulate my POTS a lot. My POTS is so much worse when I'm in a histamine reaction. So, because of the inflammation and everything. So that is also something to keep in mind, that it also just depends on what's causing your POTS. If you just have POTS where you just developed it and you have it, it might be different for you. Where neurology might be your favorite doctor that you have for your POTS. But personally, it went better cardiology for me. But I would say red flags in a cardiologist is if they tell you it's a cardiac condition, throw you on a beta blocker, and then they're like, I wonder why you don't feel completely better. Run. Because it's not just cardiac, but you do need somebody constantly watching your heart if you have POTS. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. That's everything I know.